when you're making a film, you have a lot of struggles, like his life, you know? So what was for you guys one of the struggles that you had between starting the idea, the main idea, during all the process?
How much time do you have? There's many challenges. It took quite a bit of time to sort of find this movie, or for this movie to find us, as it were. You know, what Lisa said earlier about us getting out of the way, that's part of it. And, you know, it's sort of an intuitive process that, you know, both Lisa and Paola have done on all their films. But for me, you know, there were a couple of things that were so symbolic, if you will. And I'm going to give you an example. We, in India, did recreations because we needed to convey what it was like, his early life. There were no pictures. There were, you know, 3 or 4 pictures of him in his boyhood. We needed to bring that to life. So Paola and Lisa came up with the idea of, you know, recreations and casting actors. And we filmed a key recreation of his devotion at the Ghats in Calcutta. You know, where he would go as a young boy, he would run away from his house. He would go there in the early morning and pray and look for a guru. He's looking for a guru everywhere. Which one of these guys is my guru? Where am I going to find this thing that I'm yearning for? It was a beautiful sequence. We were there at dawn. We had a crane. It was just gorgeous. The next day, one of the people working on the film conveys to me the devastating news that all that footage got erased. It disappeared. We lost that. And we were on a schedule where we could not afford a reshoot. So I had to communicate to the directors that we had lost that sequence. It was heartbreaking, heartbreaking. The story doesn't end. Weeks later, when we got back to LA, somehow on one of the laptops, there was a folder of that footage. Somehow it had not been put on our master drive, it was on the desktop of this computer. So there was a resurrection. And that happened over and over again. We would face these huge deaths like, oh my God, it's over, it's a disaster. And then whoosh, something would manifest that wanted to express. So
I think that happened in so many different ways in terms of, it really, the process of making the film really did mirror and does mirror in a lot of ways the spiritual practice. In general, because you come against obstacles and your knee-jerk reaction is to try to solve it, you know, with the ways that you know how, right? So you're coming from the solving from the mind. How does my mind want to solve this problem? Or how am I going to create this or that? And the answers very often are not going to come from that place. And so it's the softening, it's the recognition and the softening of that. And I think any creative process really is about this, which is why I kind of believe that any artist is essentially on the spiritual path, whether they admit it or not. It's just that it's the same. It's a softening because they don't, those answers really are coming from another place. And so it's the listening, it's that deep listening. And that really happened. I mean, I remember going up to Babaji's cave, and poor brother Vishwananda. I mean, he's so amazing. He was so tolerant, you know. It's like all these questions coming from the mind, you know, trying to explain Babaji. Explain Babaji to me. I don't understand. What do you mean a timeless saint? You know, just having to really get answers to some of these things that just are not explainable in time and space. And you know, at a certain point, he was so patient in allowing me to ask all these sort of intellectual questions that had no answers, to the point where instead of telling me there are no answers that I can give you that will be satisfying, he exhausted me. And in my own exhaustion, I just finally had to, like, open up, you know. And so finally, and it's a hard, arduous trip up that mountain to get to this cave. So by the time, with all the questions and everything, and by the time I got to the top, I mean, it was really just about experiencing it. And that is, I think that is really all the challenges that we had, whether it was editors that would really come in and out, and, you know, we did have some terrific collaborators, but the film was challenging. So it was like they'd come in and they'd have to leave, and we would be stuck with, you know, having to figure out our way through. And I think that all of these, whether it was editing or how to bring in that, how to walk that balance between speaking a language that doesn't alienate those who are on this path, but also to use language that people that are not on this path are going to really understand and want to know more about this journey. So that was a very, very fine line to walk.